Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Manu Maniac 93 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing a movie that came out in the middle of the summer called Man of Steel. Want to let you guys know, if you haven't seen my Batman video, my Dark Knight Trilogy ranking, I'm a huge superhero movie fan, and I enjoy watching all superhero movies. I've never read a single comic book in my life, so going into Man of Steel, I know there was a lot of uproar going in from a lot of comic book fans about how a lot of the material that you see in Man of Steel is different from what went on in Man of Steel comics and the 1973 Superman movie. So I know there was a lot of uproar going on, but I just came into the film just watching it as a regular moviegoer, and I mentioned that in my Batman video that I'm just a regular moviegoer, and so basically going into this movie, I was a little skeptical to watch this movie because I saw on Rotten Tomatoes that it has a 56% approval rating from the movie critics. And a lot of times when you go in to see a movie, the critics, they say you shouldn't pay attention to the critics, because, they're skeptical and critical on everything about the movie. So, a lot of people tell you not to mind the critics, but I was noticing, I was like, man, why is it so low? Because it's produced by Christopher Nolan, who made the Dark Knight Trilogy, and then directed by Zack Snyder, who made Watchmen. And I love the Dark Knight Trilogy. Watchmen was a good film, but I was really appalled that it got such a low rating. So I didn't want to see the movie at first because of that. But I saw it anyway with a group of friends, and I gotta say, I don't know what's up with the critics, and, there's a lot of comic book fans that are in uproar of, this movie, but I tell you, I love this movie. And as of right now, it's a top 5 movie for me this year of 2013, Man of Steel. I also checked on Rotten Tomatoes, and another movie that I really dislike, and I think it's possibly one of the worst superhero movies. Maybe not one of the worst, but one of the worst in recent history. Spider-Man 3 has a higher approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes than Man of Steel, and I think that's absolutely disgraceful. I think Man of Steel was an excellent film. It may not be as great as the Batman trilogy, I think, but Man of Steel definitely lives up to what I expected it to be. And I don't know what's up with the critics. So I just want to say that. I just want to say that I love this film. The first part of this movie I enjoyed more than the second half. And I'm going to get to the second half of the film a little later on. But the first half of this movie, the movie is kind of structured like Batman Begins, the first part, because how in Batman Begins, it moves like non-linear. It goes into a lot of flashbacks as a kid, and then it goes into Bruce Wayne, a little adult. It's the same thing here with Man of Steel, and the first part was amazing. It just goes into him as a kid, and him being socially rejected by all the other kids, and his father trying to shelter him, saying you don't need to be like them, you don't need to show off, just keep your powers to yourself. And I really enjoy that. I really love the relationship between the father and the son in this film. And this is a movie, out of all the movies I've seen this year, I was the most emotionally invested into this film than any other movie. The only other movie I can think of was 42, where I had a good amount of emotional investment. But this film, there were several times where I had tears down my eyes, and my heart was really warmed up. And I'm a pretty masculine guy, but this movie had me crying quite a few times. And so the first part of this movie was excellent. Him, growing up as a kid, and him searching around, to find who he truly is, and this guy's just trying to discover what life means. And I really enjoyed the first half of it. But I really want to compare this film to Superman Returns. I saw Superman Returns recently with one of my cousins, and I hated the film. I said, this was his favorite superhero movie, and I said, this movie sucks. and I said I can't wait to see Man of Steel and see what they do differently. But the two things I hated about Superman Returns was, number one, when I first saw Superman, I knew that that's not Superman. I said to myself, that's a dude wearing a cape. The second thing, too, is that in that movie, Superman has no competition. He has nobody to go against him, to really, fight against him. Everything is just a cakewalk for him. And Kevin Spacey, one of my favorite actors, is in this movie, and he just brings this movie down for me. So, two things that I really liked about this film was, number one, when I saw Henry Cavill as Superman, I was sitting with my cousin, and I tapped him on the side. I tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, hey, you know what, look. And I pointed directly at Henry Cavill and said, look, that is Superman. I believe that is Superman. Everything that he does is Superman. He's got all the characteristics of Superman. So I was a believer that that is Superman. In Superman Returns, I didn't believe that that dude was Superman. I thought it was a dude wearing a cape. Number two, about the thing with Superman not having any competition. Well, in this one, the second half of the film, aliens come and invade the movie, and they beat the living crap out of him sometimes, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed seeing Superman fight somebody. The villain in this movie is Zod, played by Michael Shannon. He's pretty good. He's got the face. His voice is a little weird. Sometimes his voice took me out of the film, but his face overall is, he just looks like a great villain. Even better than him is his henchman sidekick chick, Fedora. She is absolutely fantastic. She is awesome in this movie. I wish I would have seen a lot more of her, but she was great. So I really enjoyed those two things. Number one, that I was a believer that Henry Cavill was Superman. I thought he was excellent. And number two, he had, competition. He could fight against somebody. There were villains in this movie that could go toe-to-toe with him. So with that said, I really enjoyed that, and my gosh, I really enjoyed the music score from Hans Zimmer. Excellent. That is the best music score for me so far this year. It's on my iPod. I just can't get it out of my head. It's excellent. The music to this movie, probably maybe one of the best things to it. Besides Henry Cavill, I think those are the best parts of the film. Henry Cavill and the music to it. Now, here's just my overall opinion of the movie. I loved it. I think the first two acts of this film were excellent. I was really emotionally invested in this film. You got characters in this movie that you really care about. Of course, Russell Crowe's character, I forgot his name, but when he's guiding, the girl around the ship, he's such a badass in this film. And then Kevin Costner as the dad. And, just my take on that, a lot of people were in uproar about that, how he didn't die from a heart attack. But, with that scene, him dying in a tornado, immediately after, they go into an explanation of why he died from it. So, a lot of people were angry with it. I kind of liked it, and I thought it was a real interesting take on how he died and how Superman, he was basically doing it to protect Superman, basically his reputation, So I really enjoyed that. So I don't know what the big deal about that was. But here's the thing. This movie was directed by Zack Snyder, and it was produced by Christopher Nolan and David Goyer. Now, Christopher Nolan movies have a lot of substance. You get really invested into it. You really care for the characters. So I think, in my opinion, I think Christopher Nolan and David Goyer did their job, of making you really care about the characters. I think the human element and the story aspect of this movie were excellent. But I've always thought about Zack Snyder, his movies that I've seen. They look great visually, but I never really got invested into his films. I felt like there was no story or real good investment. So I thought I saw Christopher Nolan and David Goyer did their part, getting you invested. But I think what really made this film suffer, in my opinion, was in the third act with all the CGI. I felt the CGI was just too overwhelming. It was just one action scene after another. It was kind of identical, and it was just repeating, and you would just see, guys flying around through buildings, smashing each other, and over there, it just kind of took me out. And I really, I enjoyed the first fight scene, when with the soldiers, the American troops, they're fighting, and that's another thing about Henry Cavill's Superman. He would do things like he would say to one of the soldiers, "Are you all right? Are you okay?" And and the other thing too was, that one time where he turned the cheek. When a guy spilled coffee on him, he did so many things that were like Superman-esque. Like he did the right thing all the time. So that I give credit to Man of Steel for doing that. But just the action films, the visuals, it just got too overwhelming. It was too much. It looked good, and that's a tricky thing about CGI is that it's very difficult to work with. I think CGI is a good technique for filmmakers to really enhance the experience, but a lot of times it could go against you. Like I felt in The Hobbit, the CGI in The Hobbit made it look like a video game. That's one of the reasons why I didn't really care for The Hobbit. Olympus Has Fallen, I felt the CGI kind of ruined the film because it just didn't look that good. Same thing with this movie. I thought the CGI looked great, but it just felt too much in your face, and it just felt so repetitive, and it was just endless carnage, and I really didn't care for that. But I kind of like how they made Superman as kind of a Christ-like figure, and I really enjoyed that. And he's just a good guy. He does the right thing every time, and so credit to you guys. Credit to Man of Steel. I just think Zack Snyder should have really cut it down with the visual, and this movie would have been excellent. The other thing about this too is that I gotta say, another negative that people had about this film was that it lacked humor. I don't see that as a negative. I don't see a movie that lacks humor as a negative. I mean, there's a world engine, that's raping the planet. It's an alien invasion. Why do you need to incorporate humor? Like, people were like, you need to make it funny like Iron Man 3 and the Avengers. I don't know why that's a negative to the film. They wanted to make this movie a serious film, so why is it a negative? I'm still waiting for that to be a negative in my opinion. And I'm personally with Iron Man 3, a lot of people love that more than Man of Steel, but it just felt like a comedy to me, a Christmas comedy instead of a superhero film. But this felt like a superhero film in just my opinion. So that's just kind of my take on it. I mean, this movie got slammed so hard, but I gotta say, I disagree with all the critics out there. I loved it. I enjoyed it. It's right now it's my top 3 of 2013. Number 1 is Star Trek. Number 2 is Pacific Rim. Man of 3 comes as number 3. I really enjoyed it. I loved Henry Cavill. He killed it. I said to myself, that is Superman. Finally, we've seen Superman. Number 2, the music score was great as well too. And it just was phenomenal. I felt Christopher Nolan, I wish he would have directed this because I could see him at work. I got really invested in this film. It got me really emotionally invested, but I felt the visual aspect of this film just kind of brought it down too. Another gripe that I have too is, with all the action, there's a part in this film where Superman has to go around the earth to fight like tentacles and stuff like that. And that, right when they did that, it just kind of brought me out. Like, it's just, I don't know, they really cut it out. This movie's so long. That part with the world engine, they could have cut out. But other than that, I really enjoyed this film. Let me know what you guys think. Are you excited to see Man of Steel 2 with Ben Affleck as the new Batman? But I gotta say, I love this movie. Definitely one of my top favorite superhero movies now. It's not The Dark Knight, it's not The Avengers, but I think it's better than Iron Man 3 and a lot of other ones too. So let me know what you guys think. Hope you enjoyed this. Please feel free to comment, subscribe. I want to hear your opinions on this movie, but I loved it. So that's my take on Man of Steel, and you guys have a great day. Bye.